Shalom, everybody. It is April the 7th, Sunday, April the 7th, 2019. It is the second day of the first Hebrew month. My name is Daniel. I live here in Alaska, and if you are new to my channel, this is what I do. I preach and teach the Hebrew Jewish roots of the Christian faith on my website, spiritandtorah.com. I expose satanic pedophiles through investigative reporting on my YouTube channel. I provide satanic ritual abuse survivors a platform to speak out on. I protect the innocent children, and I lead a nightly Zoom room prayer meeting every single night. Brothers and sisters in Messiah, we join together to pray for President Trump, this nation, other subscribers, and each other, just like in the book of Acts. Okay, so I wanted to touch on this news story. This is about halfway through the article. This is from Natural News. It was published on April 4th, so just a few days ago. Mexican cartels operate child recycling rings to flood the U.S. with more migrants. And the Democrats question the Trump administration's compassion. So basically what's going on here is, I'm going to just read this here. Meanwhile, outside of faulty federal laws, Democrats, and wishy-washy responses from the Mexican government, the cartels south of the border are mostly responsible for the humanitarian abuses of children and so-called families. That includes, by the way, recycling children, kidnapping them and giving them to an adult to cross the border, present themselves as a family, Nielsen told Fox News' Tucker Carlson on Tuesday. We've broken up so-called child recycling rings, if you can believe it. In the last couple of months, which is where smugglers kidnap a child, she said. Once they get in, because as you know, we can only hold families for 20 days, they send the child back and bring the child back into the United States with another family, and then another fake family and another adult, Nielsen added. So it's just like this endless loop. They get a child, they give them to adults, smuggle them across the border, they get caught, child's sent back, and they're brought in with new adults, and new adults, and new adults, because they know, these drug cartels, they know the asylum laws. So if these adults say, hey, you know, we have this little child, we have these children, we're being persecuted, and we're seeking asylum, they know that because of our asylum laws, we'll take them in. So the drug cartels, they know how this all works, and so they're just recycling these children. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So there is no reason why these satanic pedophile Democrats should be standing against President Trump, trying to build the wall, trying to seal the border. Absolutely no reason at all. I'll post this story right below the video, and you guys can read it more thoroughly. But I remember hearing the what's her name, Kirstjen Nielsen, the Homeland Security Secretary. She actually, I remember just a couple days ago, I saw a video where she was also talking about this, where she was talking about how they're just recycling these children over and over again. And it's ridiculous. So these people trying to make it sound like, oh, we're not being compassionate, we're not being, you know, good Christians by not allowing these poor families that are being persecuted. It's all a lie. It's all a lie. In fact, this just reminds me of something. I got an email a few days ago. Let me see if I can pull it up here. And this was an email. Let me see here. Hold on one second. I don't know if I can find it right now. I'll try to make it for another video. But basically, it was an email that somebody had sent me with documents of someone who'd actually gone down to South America, where these caravans are originating from, and showed that it's not just this organic, you know, people saying, oh, you know, fleeing corruption and running up the border. This is actually something that's being coordinated and staged by these drug cartels. They're not walking thousands and thousands of miles from South America all the way through Mexico up to the border. They're actually being bussed through large portions of their journey. They're on air-conditioned buses being brought up here. And the media is not reporting on that, but that's what's actually going on. And I will, oh, here it is. Actually, here it is. Just got it. Yeah, this is from Judicial Watch. It says, Dear friend, I am Chris Farrell, Director of Investigations and Research with Judicial Watch. About a month ago, I headed up a team of Judicial Watch reporters and investigators who traveled down to Guatemala to get a first-hand view of the first of several migrant caravans making their way to our southern border. We got at the front end of the caravan as it was heading towards us, and we interviewed folks on the ground. The scope and scale of this thing was enormous. Part of it was, in my opinion, political publicity stunt, another part humanitarian crisis, another part pure criminality. Clearly there were several facets to the event. Overall, it was a massive humanity. I learned so many things and peeled back so many layers to this onion, it's hard to know where to really begin. The first issue is what I call the complicity of the mainstream media in pushing a false narrative about what was actually happening on the ground. People use the word fake news often, so let's define our terms. The left tries to say fake news is describing things that don't exist at all, but that's not what fake news is. It's more nuanced than that. What I see as fake news is when the news media try to create a certain narrative and bias that fits a political agenda and ignores the relevant facts. And that's exactly what happened with this caravan. First of all, it was a manufactured crisis that exploited impoverished people, consisting mostly of men. What you saw on fake news broadcasts was that it was full of women and children. There were women and children to be sure, but that was a tiny percentage. I estimated that between 90 and 95% of them were men between 15 and 45 years of age. There were certainly criminal elements rolled into the caravan, and children who were recovered from a human smuggling operation using the caravan as cover. Secondly, it was a highly organized, very elaborate, and sophisticated orchestration of desperate people. Thirdly, it did not spring organically from the ground, where thousands of people at one time said, hey guys, let's all just push our way into the United States. No, this was an organized group of people pushing a certain political agenda by a group called, I'm going to try to pronounce this right, Pueblos Sin Fronteras, with literally hundreds of their workers organizing this thing, and this effort cost somebody millions of dollars. The food, water, transportation, medical equipment, as well as the other services involved, including mobile hospitals and children's services, were akin to a complex military operation. What surprised me the most was the high level of organization involved. For example, according to American news broadcasts, the public was led to believe that the caravan marchers walked the majority of the route. They definitely walked portions of it, but for the vast majority of it, especially in Mexico, they used chartered tour buses. Many dozens of them lined up to take them from point A to point B at various times throughout the journey. It was this disingenuous nature of the reporting by the leftist mainstream media that is critical to understanding what was going on. What we heard from reports on American news broadcasts was, oh, they're trying to escape violence, daily threats, they're dying left and right, and extraordinarily dangerous conditions were what we heard repeated over and over by fake news broadcasters. But when we spoke with the people marching, I started every interview with the question, why are you coming to America? They all said that their reason for joining the caravan was economic. It was job driven. And then someone would say, oh yeah, and this was like a talking points response, we're also fleeing violence. And we'd say, well, if things are so bad, why did you leave your family back home? Of course, they couldn't answer that question. Why would they leave vulnerable members of their family's home in these horrible conditions of violence and poverty? And this was a letter written by Chris Farrell, Director of Investigations and Research, and he's from Judicial Watch, which is the organization that Tom Fitton oversees. So I wanted to read that because I think that just bolsters this point. It's all manufactured, it's all fake, and the mainstream media is just not reporting that. Okay, I wanted to talk to you about, again, I reported last week about Georgia. The governor's getting ready to sign this heartbeat abortion bill, and now there's a bunch of Hollywood elites who are protesting these events. In fact, two of the Hollywood elites that are protesting Georgia passing this heartbeat bill, this very wonderful pro-life bill, are actors Mark Hamill and Natalie Portman. And this was something that Tiffany Fitzhenry reported. She said, fun fact, Star Wars was filmed in Tunisia, where homosexuality is punishable by up to 3 years in prison, as well as in Ireland, where abortion is illegal. And of course, you don't see Natalie Portman and Mark Hamill, two big Star Wars actor and actresses, you don't see them protesting Tunisia or Ireland for their laws against abortion and homosexuality, but they're very quick to protest Georgia. Just utter and complete hypocrisy. Utter and complete hypocrisy. Okay, I wanted to also cover this story. This is some really good news. So about a week or maybe 2 weeks ago, there was a county in New York, Rockland County, where they tried to pass this insane legislation of trying to arrest any child who is out in public spaces that's not vaccinated. First of all, when I got these emails about people reporting this, I just laughed. I said, well, how are they going to enforce that? How are they going to figure out who's vaccinated and who's not? Give me a break. But there's some good news here. It says New York Supreme, and I'll post a link to this story right below the video. New York Supreme Court overturns Rockland County's medical martial law ban on unvaccinated children. Medical fascist Ed Day rebuked by common sense. The Supreme Court of the state of New York has overturned the medical martial law declaration of Rockland County, New York, whose head executioner, Ed Day, had declared a state of emergency and threatened to imprison children and teens for up to 6 months if they were caught in public unvaccinated. In utter violation of human rights and civil liberties, Ed Day had threatened all the children of Rockland County with jail time if they dared to step foot in a church, school, mall, government building, public library, or a public transportation bus. The declaration was obviously pushed by Big Pharma, and Ed Day is on the record working hard to roll out the red carpet for biotech companies as part of his economic growth strategy for Rockland County. His emergency declaration, not surprisingly, was based on total quackery and medical fearmongering. Even the New York Supreme Court confirmed that, calling the medical martial law declaration arbitrary and capricious, which is the court's way of saying that Ed Day is a lunatic medical tyrant who ginned up a declared emergency for no justifiable reason. And you guys can continue to read this article. It goes on and on. But hallelujah, even the liberal New York Supreme Court overturned this very stupid and horrible law trying to force people to be vaccinated in order to be able to go to public places. Give me a break. Things like that's not going to fly. It's not going to fly in Trump's America. It just won't. The deep state is crumbling. Justice is coming. They're coming down. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. All right. If you like what I'm doing, if you appreciate what I'm doing, if you think I am working hard and deserve to be paid, this is my full-time job. I resigned from my job last fall, and so this is what I do full-time as my career. So if you'd like to help me out, my PayPal link is right below this video. Just got to hit the little down arrow or the show more and unfold that description box. PayPal is the easiest way to send me a donation. You do not have to be a PayPal subscriber to use it. You just have to click on the link and you can send me a donation. I also have a Patreon where you can pledge any monthly tier that you'd like, and I appreciate all my Patreon subscribers. Keep in mind, my Patreon, anyone can go there. All the stuff I put on there is completely free. But if you'd like to pledge an amount, that would be wonderful. And then I also have a P.O. box where you can send letters and donations, and I do always try to respond to those as well. All right, God bless you guys. Lots of good news today. Lots of good time exposing these deep state, nefarious, satanic pedophiles. Hallelujah. We're winning. We just got to keep on plugging away, keep on praying, keep on exposing, keep on fighting. Shalom, shalom. God bless.